Hey guys, welcome to the Tough Puff. Today I'm going to be talking about my regionals deck that I played this weekend at Virginia Regionals. It is Yveltal Archeops with a couple other things. It's not really like a revolutionary list. It's not like I made some crazy, text. But Brandon Smiley, Jimmy McClure, and I worked together to make it as consistent as possible, and to keep it like, but keeping it true to what the deck is, not like taking out dark patches or taking out lasers for consistency for acrobikes and stuff. So we kept it like a dark deck, like a Yveltal deck. We kept Hoopa, but we also added a consistent Maxie's engine so that we were able to get it out. So I was able to win the Virginia Regionals with this deck. Here's the trophy. It's pretty cool. And I went 8-0-1, meaning I had 8 wins, 0 losses, and 1 tie on the first day of Swiss. And then the next day, I won my first 2 games, guaranteeing me into top 8. And then I went on from there to win. So here's what we have so far. We have 2 Yveltal XY. I had originally 1 XY and 1 of the Breakthrough Yveltal, but since we only run 6 dark in this list, we thought it would be better to run 2 of the Oblivion Wing ones, because you can attach a dark energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So because of that, we thought it would be like the safest route to go. So there's that. Then we have 2 Yveltal EX. Yveltal EX is like the whole reason, Dark Patch and the Dark Engine's like good right now. And having only 2 was like scary, but we had to sacrifice the 3rd one for this engine. So 2 worked out, luckily, but if you can somehow fit a 3rd one in here, that would be pretty nice. We had 1 Darkrai EX. Darkrai EX was just for the Dark Cloak ability, and because he doesn't have weakness to lightning, also his 180 HP made him like just a little bit harder to get knocked out by Vespiquen and Night March. So Darkrai was a pretty decent card. 2 of them would have been nice, but 1 was all I really needed, so that was pretty solid. Seismitoad EX. We run 1 because you never know when you're gonna need a Quaking Punch, and we run a Hoopa EX in the deck, so having Seismitoad as like a cool kind of tech that you can just pull out of nowhere is pretty interesting. So that's why we run a Seismitoad. We also run a Keldeo EX for its Russian ability. An interesting thing about Keldeo is that with Darkrai, you can attach a Dark Energy to Keldeo and then use Dark Cloak, and then you're able to constantly switch Keldeo out with whichever Pokemon was in your active position. The reason you would want to do this is because Hypnotoxic Laser is in the expanded format. So Keldeo like takes off poison and sleep off of your active, and it's a very nice card to have in order to do that. It also switches out your attackers. So like, let's say you have Seismitoad active with a DCE on it, and you can't retreat because you don't have Dark Cloak and you have a 3 retreat cost. Like you could use Keldeo to switch. So I mean, that's pretty much why he's used. One thing we have that people didn't really seem to understand is a Hoopa EX. Hoopa EX is just good all around in straight Yveltal. Frank Diaz ran it in his lists where he got a 2nd and 1st 2 weekends in a row. Obviously, the whole point of Hoopa would be to just get like a Keldeo with Darkrai Yveltal, Toad, Darkrai Yveltal, whatever you need all at once, or like Shaman, Jirachi, Yveltal, whatever. So Scoundrel Ring is just a great ability to have. Hoopa wasn't really like a nuisance, and it wasn't something that I never used. It was actually really good the whole time, so I'm pretty happy that that we kept that in the list. One thing we ran was a Jirachi EX. Stellar Guidance is like pretty much one of the best possible abilities to combine with Maxies, because like say your hand is like 3 cards and one of them happens to be an Ultra Ball, and you have like a Maxie's target in your discard. You can use Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards, search out Jirachi, Stellar Guidance for Maxies, and then play it to get out, you know, your target. So it just adds another option in getting out the Maxies, so it's very important. Lastly, for EXs, we have 2 Shaman EX. Shaman's pretty much a staple in any deck, especially in Expanded, where supporter lines are kind of thin. Most lists for this deck that I've seen are running only 1. So we ran 2, and it was very consistent and very helpful throughout the tournament. Then for 2 Archie's targets, we had a Breakthrough Gallade, and we had a Noble Victories Archeops. So Gallade, he was mostly for Mega Manectric EX. Like you can Sensitive Blade and one-shot them, like starting turn 1 even. And if you do that, then they can only hit you back for 110, and since your HP is 150, it's very hard for them to do anything about it. And then Archeops says each player can't play any Pokemon from his or her hand to evolve his or her Pokemon. So against Vespiquen and stuff, they just can't evolve. So you pretty much just beat them if you can get that card out. And since we don't play any Pokemon that evolve, obviously it's you know, it's not very harmful to us, but it can be extremely like game winning. So now we can go on to the trainers. We ran a very thin supporter line, which was kind of weird because, you know, we made the deck very consistent, but not in a I'll always draw what I need way, but in more of a I'll always get Archie's, or excuse me, I'll always get Maxie's turn 1 way. So like, so you ran only 3 Sycamore, so that's like kind of a thin line for Sycamore, considering most decks always run 4. We ran 2 Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick. Most of these lists I've seen only run 1, but we ran the 2 because for 1 we couldn't think of another card to put in that would be better, and for 2 we just thought that like if 1 was prized, that Archeops and Gallade would be so important to our success that we wanted to, you know, never have to deal with not having, you know, one of the 3 pieces. We ran only 1 N, which was interesting. I don't think I ever prized it, and if I did, I just never needed it that game, but like I never lost because I didn't have an N or something. 1 Lysander. You pretty much need a Lysander in every deck unless you play like heavy catchers. And then 1 Hex Maniac. Jimmy and I were talking about like the differences between Hex Maniac and Getsis, and you know, it was just like, well, turn 1 Hex Maniac, you can stop things like Blastoise, you can slow down Vespiquen completely for a turn, you can like shut off Crobat, like if you can't get Archeops out or something, like, you know, there are a bunch of different reasons Hex Maniac is really good. Then we have 4 VS Seeker, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Dark Patch, 4 Battle Compressor. So one thing about Dark is that you always want 4 VS Seeker, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Dark Patch. And in this list, since it's so important to get like your fighting guys into the discard pile, everyone was running, you know, 3 Battle Compressor, 3 Battle Compressor, 3 Battle Compressor. So Jimmy decided that 4 was completely necessary so you could actually draw into it in your starting hand of 7, and it actually worked out that way very well. I was concerned when he mentioned running the 4 because I thought that late game I would have like my deck filled with battle compressors and it would like ruin me, but it actually like provided a new strategy where when I like could map out the last couple of turns of the game and I knew what cards I did need in my deck and I was down to like 2 prizes and I had a battle compressor in hand, I would like play the battle compressor, burn out all the cards I didn't need, so that when I got end, I was able to, you know, hit something off of the 3 cards I saw. I was able to get something to keep me in the game, so that was actually very useful, more so than I expected it to be. So then we have 3 Hypnotoxic Laser. 4 would have been okay, but I really didn't need them very often during the tournament. We had 3 Trainer's Mail. People always say like, hey, run 4 Trainer's Mail and 3 Battle Compressor, but if you're thinning out your deck, then Trainer's Mail is going to hit all your items anyways, so why do you need a 4th one if when you have 3 you always hit something you need? We had 2 Muscle Band. Normally, in like straight Yveltal lists, you run 3 Muscle Bands, sometimes even 4. But we felt that 2 was fine, and that was mostly because of 2 Floatstone, which we ran. We didn't want to like clog up our hands with Floatstone, so we didn't want to run like more, and we didn't want to, you know, not be able to draw into it, so we didn't want to only play 1. And like the thing about Floatstone is that it helps you hit like turn 1 attacks often, meaning like if you start let's say you start Shaman and you want to be able to hit like the turn 1 Evil Ball on something, like because you're going second, then what you can do is like you can normally in Yveltal builds that don't run Keldeo, you would like go drop the Keldeo, attach a Dark, rush in, and then you'd need like 2 Dark Patches. But with this, you go like drop Keldeo, attach Floatstone, and then you can attach an energy for turn to Yveltal, and then play only 1 Dark Patch. So like it's easier to hit that turn 1 attack. So that was like, you know, that was our reasoning behind that. Our ace spec was Computer Search. We ran 1 Computer Search because that's like the best possible ace spec for this deck on turn 1. And late game, it's not so bad either if you get end into it, like an end to 2, and you hit Computer Search and 2 other cards. You'll always get like the 1 card you need off the end. So Dowsing Machine is a good consideration, but I think Computer Search is best because the deck, like the whole point of the deck is to hit a big turn 1. Then for stadiums, we ran 2 Virbank. People were saying, well, if you run 3 Hypnotoxic Laser, then why not just go down to 1 Virbank? But we really felt that 2 Virbank was best. And honestly, they won me a lot of games because one of the biggest cards this weekend, in my opinion, was Silent Lab. So Silent Lab like kind of shuts this whole strategy down because you can't like use your Dark Patches and retreat like with Keldeo and like Shaman and do all these sweet things. So the Virbanks were like really important. The 2 line at least. So lastly, we have our energies. We have 6 Dark. I mentioned earlier that 6 Dark is the reason we run 2 XY Yveltal, and that's pretty much it. 6 Dark's fine because you have Dark Patch, so like you can attach your Darks early, you'll have them, and then late game you can just use Dark Patch and like you'll never like miss an attachment and stuff because you can always just attach double colorless energy after that. So I mean, I never really like a problem never really arose with only 6 Dark, and I played against Sableye Garb. I was able to get through it, you know, even though they hammered me because I had the Dark Patches and the XY Yveltals. Even with the 6 Dark, I didn't face a Seismitoad EX Giratina EX deck, but if I did, I'd assume I would be okay because of the 2 XY Dark Patches and a 6 dark. Like people say, you know, you need at least 7. 7's like the best number, like 7 and 4. Sometimes even 8 and 4. Some people say even 9 and 4. But I think 6 and 4 for this list at least. The Archeops Maxie version is like the best number is 6, because like you don't want to clog up your hand with energy first turn either, because then you can't attach them. You can only attach 1 energy a turn, obviously. So if you have like 2 energy in hand first turn, if you don't have like an Ultra Ball or something, then you're not gonna hit the Maxie, you know. So it's very important. Then lastly, just 4 double card lists. That's pretty standard for Yveltal decks. If you run any less, then that's kind of weird. Double card list was the MVP. Always like just giving me these huge attacks with Yveltal. Just a really good card. So the list is just like as consistent as possible. There's nothing really like fancy going on with it. It's just like the best possible Yveltal list we could possibly make. So and it worked really well. So you could check it out, test it, maybe play it for regionals this weekend or next weekend. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ask us questions about the deck, keep trading with us, and we'll see you next time.